Well, good day. It's such a beautiful day out here. Hate to ruin it for somebody, but yeah, I'm going to. I hear people talking about what their rights are. And yeah, we have our Constitution. We have our First Amendment and our Second Amendment and all our other amendments. It says we have freedom of speech and we have freedom of this and we have freedom of that. It's all well and good. But people think they apply to everybody in the military too, because if you think not too long ago, here's this fella wearing a Marine Corps uniform causing a disruption up in D.C. And everybody says he has a right to say whatever he wants. Not while he's in that uniform, he don't. When he's wearing that uniform, he falls under what we call the Uniform Code of Military Justice. That's right, the UCMJ. And there are articles under the UCMJ that says how you must act when you're in the military. Yeah, you civilians have their own laws, and we in the military have to abide by and obey civilian laws and obey the Constitution. But there's an additional set of laws that is imposed upon those of us that are in the military, and many of us that have retired and are veterans and out of the military now. One of those is when you're wearing that uniform, you can't say everything you want to say. You've got to keep everything in good order and discipline. You can't say anything prejudicial or act prejudicial to good order and discipline. Article 91 and Article 92 covers all those. 91, insubordinate actions toward a non-commissioned officer, warrant officer, or anybody else. Number 2 is Article 92, disobeying a lawful order or regulation. Well, you know, this gentleman, even in the Marine Corps, received a briefing when he first come in. As all basic trainees get when they first come in, probably about their first or second day, they get this one briefing that tells them that if they filled out that form to come in, their enlistment form to come in, they filled it out knowingly, lying on it, they're going to be charged and held accountable. That's right, it's against the law. Another thing they're briefed on is how they must act while in that uniform at all times. And if they act prejudicial to good order and discipline in that uniform, or they say and do things that is prejudicial to good order and discipline, they can be held accountable. Now that can come in the form of letters of counseling, letters of reprimand, Article 15s, or even a court-martial. Many people deserve a court-martial for some of the things they do and say in the uniform. So we have another UCMJ article, Article 134, that covers prejudicial to good order and discipline. And this is what that young Marine sergeant up there did in that uniform. And he's not the only one that falls guilty of that. You see a lot of people on social media in uniform talking bad about the president, talking bad about Congress people or senators, or just making comments, their own opinion, which it's okay, they can talk of their own opinion, but they cannot do it in uniform, because that brings discredit upon the service. When they're wearing that uniform, it makes everybody think that the military feels that way. You can't do it. Now, you can go out and say what you want to say, but not wearing that uniform. So think about it, people. Somebody in the military, they don't have all the rights you have. Well, take that back. They do, but then there's another set of laws imposed upon them that they must live up to. Like, you remember when all those people up there, the senators, talking about you don't have to obey an illegal order. Well, no, you don't have to obey an illegal order. But who's going to make that determination whether that order is illegal or not? Yeah, it's if any reasonable person knows that by committing that order they're committing a crime, that's well and good. But if you're given an order to do something and you don't follow that order, you're going to have to be going up in front of a court-martial, even if you feel it's an unlawful order, because there's going to be a military judge, after it's all said and done, is going to make that determination whether it's a lawful order or not. So civilians, what I recommend is sit down, shut up, let the military handle the military. Stop talking about what we should and should not be doing. Now, with that said, let me tell you a little basic training story. Told you about us on pickup night trying to teach basic trainees 6 simple words. Well, by the time they finally get it somewhat right, we got to march them around to the dorm and get them up in the dorm. Now this is where the fun really starts. And everybody says, you know, you need to be nice to them. No, we don't need to be nice to them. The whole point of pickup night is to put them under stress. Let them know they're no longer in that civilian environment. And teach them that they have got to perform. They have got to think. They've got to do things when under stress. That's what the military is about. Military is not just about going to college. Military is not just about showing up every day. And speaking of showing up every day, that's another one. You know, you can't just call in sick and you're not sick. That's a UCMJ violation called malingering. Or just not calling in and not showing up. That's a UCMJ violation of AWOL, which they learn in basic training. But we get them up there and we tell them that they got to shave, they got to shower, and they got to be back out in 2 minutes. Shave, shower, and back out in 2 minutes. You want to see something that looks like Friday the 13th? Go up there when you tell a bunch of male airmen that they got to shave, shower, and be back out by their bunks in 2 minutes. You see them coming out with their white towels, holding them to their face where they done cut themselves all up doing their shaving. You can't do that under stress. You got to think. You got to be calm. And that's what we're trying to do. Teach them to be calm. We don't put them through that to make them cut themselves. No, we're trying to put them through stress to where they can learn to start acting and being calm in a stressful situation. That's the whole point of it. Not just to hurt them, not to make them mad, not to, be mean. There's a purpose for everything we do in basic training. And if you make it light on them, you make it easy on them, they're not going to learn to act under stress in the field when their life and somebody else's life is determined by what they do. So, everybody, have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good cigar. And I'll see you later.